the founder of the Studentpreneur Initiative. Praise is a youth and innovation empowerment advocate. She's the founder of the Studentpreneur Initiative, which is one-stop organization for career and entrepreneurial transformation for students and fresh graduates. Through TSI, Praise has empowered students and youth to stand out in the 21st century by providing training, mentorship programs, and events. Our efforts have directly impacted over 5,000 students and fresh graduates across various institutions, preparing them for the future of work and entrepreneurship and helping them thrive in their industries, academics, and emerging markets. She's currently a MBA candidate at the W.P. Carey School of Business, Arizona State University, with a concentration in marketing and artificial intelligence. Career wise, she's a tech business development professional. Please, can we drop clapping emojis to celebrate this gorgeous woman?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So Miss Prince, let's have you.
All right. Thank you so much for the introduction. Um, that was very much all about me. I think the only difference in this in over time has been that so I was working in tech business development and now I'm kind of in the procurement pharmaceutical space. But it's definitely been an amazing journey. Being back in Nigeria, I was very passionate about preparing students and fresh graduates for the future of work because I believe that there are a couple of gaps when it comes to theory and practice. So people are very smart in school, but like when they come out of school, then just being prepared for the job market sometimes can be a challenge. So that was like the aim of TSI to equip people with both soft and some technical skills for the future of work and entrepreneurship. And today I will be diving into resumes. I'm going to start off with a disclaimer. I think there's no one way to write your resume. I think there are different ways that you can write your resume. But I would really talk through the what I've seen to be, good things to add into your resume. I have like a slide. It isn't a lot of information. I'll be doing most of the talking, but I'll be sharing that in a couple of minutes. But before that, can we go around maybe some introductions? I'd like to know who is on the call. Feel free to drop it in the chat. Your name, where are you from, and if you're a student, you can let me know. If you're a professional, you can let me know what you do. And what are you looking to get out of this session? You can drop it in the chat. That would be appreciated. Okay, so I'll wait on that while I open the slide deck. Oh, I don't see a lot of information in the chat. Is it just on my end or is it that someone is dropping any information? Okay, I think I have like a very shy audience, but you can feel free to drop your name. Where from Nigeria are you located in? If you're a student, you can let me know, or if you're a working professional, feel free to drop it in there. So I have all day. I like to keep who I'm speaking, all the people that are on this call with me. Okay, freelancer. Okay, that's amazing. Okay, Ken, Lagos, graduate Kaduna. Oh, that's really nice. It's like it's a very diverse, um, currently final year. Tech enthusiast, writing resumes. Okay, confused about how to write a good one. In Abuja, Port Harcourt. So that's amazing. We have a very diverse audience. Please let me know if you see my screen. Do you see it?
Yes, we do.
Yes. Yes, we do.
Okay, I really wish it was wider, but like a picture so you can use it on top of the other tabs. Mm, okay. Okay, but it looks like it is cut out, is it? Or can you see the whole screen?
Okay, so I think Praise left the chat. Hopefully, she's going to join back soon. Apologies for the disruption.
Hi everyone. So I'm back. My laptop happened to trip off on me. But I'm back now, and you can let me know if you see my screen, and then we can get it started. So if you see my screen, just let me know. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to start off with what is your resume? I think that would help to really understand what people are looking out for when they look at your resume in a job application process. So your resume is supposed to amplify who you are, like highlight who you are as a candidate and how you fit with a job description. So it's kind of like you're pairing a want to a need. So you're pairing who you are to a need within the organization. So that would give you a bit of a bit of an overview of what people are looking out for when they pick up your resume. So in doing that, if your resume looks like it is not a fit, or it looks very disorganized, or it just doesn't, I mean, your margins, everything just looks outrightly, out of place, that probably means that you're not the professional that they're looking for. So in putting together your resume, first and foremost, which is one thing that people don't really they don't really emphasize, is that the layout has to be great. Like, you have to have a good layout. Your margins have to be even. The space between your experiences needs to be decently even. If you're putting a line in there, let it be consistent, because there are a lot of things that they're looking out for beyond are you good for the role. So how your professionalism, what amount of thought do you put into the work that you do? How does your work ethic, all of those things. So it's funny how they want all those questions answered, but it is just like a piece of paper that they're going to first get a glimpse of who you are as a candidate. So that's one very important piece of your resume that you shouldn't overlook. If everything seems off, if you're, I mean, people say that sometimes the word format helps you to go through the ATS more, like the ATS to pull up the skills that is relevant for the job. But I'll say that PDFs are better in my opinion, because I think that when the person downloads the resume, it's like in the same format that you created it in. And I know that sometimes people want their resume to be very fancy, but how much distraction do you want them to have? Like you actually want to pass across the information that they're looking out for. So too much fanciness in your resume, I mean, I wouldn't advise, but I mean, there have been instances where I think someone was applying for a Google role and he made his resume look like a Google search page. That's definitely very innovative. But when you're doing like you're applying to a number of jobs and everything, as much as possible, make it crystal clear, except you're applying for maybe a design role or a UI UX designer role. In that case, there might be some design formatting, but not too distracting, right? Because if you think you can design, somebody else can design like they can't design. So as much as possible, maybe hyperlinking your portfolio, things like that can help you to make the most out of the resume beyond just putting different icons and things all over it. So that's like firstly about the format. I'm going to make sure to at some point, just pause and get questions from the audience, because I don't want it to just be me talking to you. I want to be able to understand what questions you have. So the next piece will be like your education. So sometimes, I mean, people talk about if you've been in the market, if you have like 10 years of work experience, your education can be at the bottom. You can just put your work experience first. But if you're, I'll say averagely on this call, we're pretty young. So I'll say maybe an average of 5 years, 6 years of work experience. So with that, I mean, if you are like fresh out of college or 2 years in, 3 years in, 4 years, you're applying for an internship, you can put your education first. But there's something you can do with your education. So usually people typically put their education and the dates and the degree, but also you can put like a mini bullet point in your education, just highlighting your achievements. So I want you to look at your resume as not just you telling them what you did. Your resume is your advertisement piece, like it's your marketing collateral. You're advertising yourself. So just saying in your experience bullet point that produced this by this and that, or developed, or those action words that everybody typically uses, collaborated. I mean, they are great, but you also want to look at your resume as an advertising piece of you. So as much as possible, you want to put forward your achievements. I don't believe in lying in your resume. I believe that sometimes people aren't as aware of how to tell their stories in such a way that it's a great achievement. I think that everybody in some way has got like been able to do great things. Sometimes it's just being able to tell it in such a way that it shows how amazing what you did was. So in your education section, just to go back to the education section, you can put, if you're the president of a club in your school, you can put a bullet point, president of this. If you were like a top 5% graduating student, the other bullet point, top 5% graduating student, or first bullet point, awarded entrepreneur of the year, things like that. You can highlight it even in your education section, or you can also highlight courses that are relevant to the role that you took. So things like, let's say you did computer science and you had a machine learning course. So right there you can say learned machine learning and something skills, things like that. Or you can write emphasis in machine learning. And so in your every piece of your resume is an opportunity to sell yourself. So in the education piece, the education part of your resume, you can for sure put like 1 or 2 bullet points there. to just highlight, how you've been able to either make a mark in education or in your educational trajectory also. So moving on to, so I'm going to pause right there and just ask if there are any questions about the education aspect of your resume. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so Praise, my question is, people that have had like several gap years after their high school, they sometimes worry that, I've not been in school for 5 years, there's no university to add there. Would you suggest that they move the education downwards in the resume, or should it remain upwards?
Okay, so thanks for asking that question. So just to make sure I'm getting it correctly, the person has a gap year in school, or maybe they didn't complete school, and they think that it might be a weakness putting their school qualification in there. Is that what you mean? That's right.
Yeah, so for instance, some people that I know myself, for instance, I finished high school in 2019 and I've not been to uni since then. So should I put my high school education at the top, or should I move it to the bottom, or should I not include it at all? What would you suggest?
I'll suggest you move it to the bottom. Also because people, I mean, in the pool of applicants, there will be people coming in with university degrees, maybe even masters and everything. So you don't really want them to, you don't want that to be the first thing that they see, that in terms of benchmark, in terms of like educational degree, maybe you are not, in terms of their hierarchy, you kind of maybe don't meet that benchmark. So like you said, yes, you can put it at the bottom. Yeah. Any other questions?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, go ahead.
So please, can you add like projects you've worked on while in school? Like probably you worked on, like I'm a mass communication student and we work on like projects all the time, photo exhibitions, magazine creation, and sometimes we're usually like deputy editor in chief, sub editors and stuff like that. Can you add that?
Yes, for sure. Anything that makes you stand out, you can add it on your in your resume, as long as you have the space for it. You can, if let's say you got awarded as the top graduating student or something like that, and then maybe you worked on a project as editor-in-chief, and then maybe you won an hackathon for machine learning, and then maybe you did something else, you were in a singing competition where you won. You might just want to look at what aligns, what will be an achievement that I put in here that aligns with what the job is looking for. And even in some cases, it just might not be in direct alignment, but out of all, because of the space on your resume, out of all 5 or 7 or 10 of your achievements in school, which one is very profound? So put that in there. Yeah. I don't know if that answers the question. Okay, I think it did. Praise, go ahead. My namesake.
Yeah, your namesake. Okay, so it's related to what the first girl asked, Naomi. Let's say through your high school, through secondary school, you lived a very low-key life. So there wasn't a lot of awards, not a lot of recognition, just scaling through classes. And then you're currently still you're still in the uni, so you don't have a degree yet. Are we still pushing this to the bottom of the resume, or what do you think?
Yeah. That's a great question. So the person hasn't done so much in school, right? They just went to school, maybe had a good grade, or went to school and had a decent grade, but not so much of an achievement, right? Within school, like besides schoolwork, right? Or they are not done with school too, right?
They are also not done with uni.
Yes. I'll say in that instance, still put it. You can put graduation in view, especially if you're applying for an internship position. But in Nigeria, even when you're in school, there's a way that you can do like part-time jobs or things like that. So still put it, because you're in school. And if you haven't done so much in school, you can tie maybe some of the courses that you've taken to what the company is doing. So maybe um, classes in, then maybe you're applying for a marketing role, classes in digital marketing, something, something, that kind of thing. It could be anything ranging from either a class that aligns with the role or achievements within school. But as much as possible, our advice, if you're in school right now, look for opportunities to do beyond school work, because that can feed into your story when you are either applying for scholarships. So be that a student that isn't just all about school. Maybe you join the investment banking club, or you join things that align with where you are headed, your trajectory, because that will really help you to highlight those on your resume. But to your question, Praise, don't put it at the bottom, because you're actually still doing a degree. The person might want to, at that point in time, thinking about hiring maybe an undergrad in something like, or just an undergrad or something. So just highlighting it there that you're in school, or just putting it there. You can put the year can be when you're actually going to be graduating. So the person knows that you've not completed school yet, but you're in school. So don't put it at the bottom. Yeah. Okay, Ife, looks like you have a question.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So I wanted to ask, if you were applying for something that doesn't tally with what you studied in school. Let's say, okay, you studied something related to like biological science, and then you're applying for something in tech. It's a necessity to put your education at the top or at the bottom.
Yeah, so I'll say that you can still put it at the top. You can still put it at the top, but in whatever you highlight, if you participated in an hackathon or something like that, you can highlight it there. Participated in an hackathon, something like that, or coded departmental websites or something like that. Something that just emphasizes that despite the fact that I did biology, I did some things that are like technical work. If the technical job you're applying for is primarily like hardcore coding, but if it's like business development or something like that, can just highlight other achievements. So sometimes people translate, if this person is an achiever right now, regardless of whatever I put them on, they would think through it, they will implement, they'll have great work ethics, and they'll be a doer and everything. So you can just highlight whatever those achievements are. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to study, you don't have to particularly be the same like degree for the job to put it at the top. Yeah. Yisa, it looks like you have a question.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
So, um, for the projects that we worked on, let's say you worked on multiple projects while you were in the university. When you write the university, are you going to put the project under a bullet point, or you create like a separate heading for it?
Okay, for the project in university. So sometimes it depends on how much experience you have. Sometimes people have a number of experience that a project section might not be visible. But if you can put a project section on its own and just write the projects you worked on. But if you have so much of like bullet point and things to put there, you might not have space to put project, and then you can just put it at the bullet point at the top. Like after you write your degree, bullet point there that just says worked on this project, achieved, or like the actual results from the project, something like that on top. And okay, so an example for me was I participated in an hackathon, like AI for Education hackathon in school. So in my resume, I have it there, bullet points, second runner up for artificial intelligence in hackathon competition at ASU. Then I'm also like president of Strategic Marketing Association. I also have it there, president of Strategic Marketing Association, then comma, recipient of Mary Jo Bittner Marketing Award. So those are things that are the achievements in school. So I don't know if that answers the question. If there's a lot of information in your experience, you can have it as a section on. If there's not a lot, you can have it as a section on its own. But if there's a lot, just put the project achievement there as bullet points.
Okay, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. It looks like those are all the questions from education. If you also want to drop a question in the chat, feel free to do that. I'm trying to pull up a resume on the like from the web and just reference, the places that I'm talking about. But as we move along, I'll see if I can do that. Oh, I'm not sure I'm having this thing pop up on my Google Meet. Okay, so that's all about your education. Now your experience. I think you must have heard it over and over again that you should include metrics in your experience. Um, I job hunted. I did like when I was back in Nigeria. I put in my resume for jobs. Most times I was like referred to these jobs and everything. And I don't know how keen they are on seeing metrics, but you can be that A candidate that puts metrics in there. But I know that in the US job market, they want to see metrics as much as possible. So an example will be slashed cost by 30%, then slash cost by 30% by negotiating with vendors, which resulted in increased supplier relationship, something like that, or whatever it is. But you want to make sure that you are putting metrics in there, or achieved 20% increase in campaign results by. So I want to say it in such a way that you see the what did you do, how did you do it, and what was the results. Your bullet point to a large extent should be able to reflect that. If you want, you can have something like increased website visibility by 20% or by 10% using SEO strategies with tools like Google Search Console, which yielded increased revenue in the third quarter, in quarter two. See how metric driven that bullet point is, as opposed to performed SEO strategy to increase website visibility. So you want to make sure that your bullet points have metrics to a large extent, and you kind of have the what you did, why you did it, and then the results within your bullet point. And also, you want your bullet point at what I spoke to earlier. Your resume is not just you stating. You don't just want to be a doer in your resume. You want to be an achiever. So you want to have things like achieved. Your action word should be as strong as possible, and let them portray that you're an achiever. So maybe recognize for impact in marketing campaign through 360 social media content revamp, leading to 10% increase, something like that. So starting off with that recognized, I'm immediately like, oh, okay, this person was recognized for this thing. That means they are probably very good at what they do, or they are sort of like a phenomenal candidate. Feel free to use things like collaborated, but don't let your action word be cliche. I think there are some action words that are maybe over the top of my head. I can't think of any right now, but let your action words be impactful. And how can you get this impactful action words? ChatGPT. Ask ChatGPT, give me impactful action words for my resume, or brainstorm the bullet point that you already have, put it in ChatGPT and say, make this, refine this bullet point, starting with an impactful action word. Example, recognize, achieved, /cost. So, and then continue to reiterate with ChatGPT to get like strong action verbs for the start of a resume. Okay, so that metrics, achievements, the what, the why, the results, and tools. You can also, within some of your bullet points, highlight the tools you use. So if you maybe worked with let's Sublime, maybe to code, so you're like increased user experience by 20%, received increased metrics or increased rating of user experience by 30%, using Figma to roadmap optimization, leading to something like that. Sometimes the results is already what you said at the beginning, but you can't just make sure that you have your results and you have your metrics. So that is about experience, I would say. And people usually would advise that you tailor your job description, you tailor your experience to the job description. I think that's a great advice, but sometimes you apply to a ton of jobs. So the instances where you apply to a job and just for, let's say you apply for marketing roles, one of the roles is product marketing, another one is content manager, another one, they probably are similar. They're probably looking for some similar things, but if you can, and if you have the capacity to, which isn't a bad thing at all, you can always you can optimize your bullet points to fit the job description, but not by line and putting things that you didn't do in there, but try to recollect the things that you did that align with the job description. So let them look at it and immediately be like, this person has what we are looking for. So you can do that by brainstorming with ChatGPT, recalling some of the experiences you did that align with the job description. Also, in the name of the company, the part where you have the name of the company, feel free to put hyphen and put the industry. Maybe you're applying to an oil and gas company, right? And you worked in sales, but at some point you also sold for oil and gas companies, maybe in a sales consulting. Feel free to put hyphen oil and gas, put the industries that you served there, or you work in an agency and you work with government, sales, all those things. Feel free to put an hyphen and indicate those things at the top after your role, because you actually want the recruiter to look through your resume and feel like you are a fit. And that can be in terms of the experience you have, the skill you have, or maybe just the industry. For example, you put like, maybe you worked in cloud sales, but in an agency. So you put the name of the agency, you put your role, tech sales, then you put /cloud, cybersecurity, AI, that kind of thing. So they know that you did sales, but you touched on these industries. So you can feel free to also do that in the resume. So I will pause and take questions. Are there any questions regarding that? Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so my question is, there are some roles that you take on, and then the metrics seem to be unquantifiable, if I could use that word. So how would you suggest, although you've made a large impact, but do you struggle to quantify? So what would you suggest in that kind of like situation?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that, that's one of the things that is very important as professionals continue to evolve. You have to be metric driven in the work that you're doing, and you have to be able to, in some way, conceptualize the impact of metrics. So if you've not been doing that before, at this point in time, if you're working on any project or in any role, start to think about the metrics, start to look out for, let's say you reached out to 50 people to do business with a company, and if you are not looking at the metrics, you just like, oh, I call people to bring them on for sales for business objectives. But then if you then start to look at the metrics, let's say 25 of those people answered your call, and let's say 10 of those people came in as business, then you can say a 50% response rate, like, or no, maybe not answered your call, maybe email, they responded to your email. So if a 50% response rate means that your subject line or whatever you sent was good enough for them to even respond. And that's a metric that is actually important in sales. You know, are you able to drive response and everything? So there's a way you can think about it there's sometimes that you don't have the concrete metrics, but you can think about it and say, oh, how can I bring this down to like metrics? And there are sometimes that you might not have it like concretely, and you know, maybe you did a website revamp, or you did like content writing that, or you did some social media content, and you're not sure how many more people came to the page and everything. You can think about, oh, did you start to have more calls, maybe 2 additional more calls than you used to have before, inquiring about the business. So that's from 0 calls in a month, you had 2 calls every 2 months. So that's like a 200% increase in people reaching out from 0, you know, per month in 2 months. So there are ways to think about it and put metrics to it. So I'll say that if you have all 5 of your bullet points, or all your bullet points within the organizations that you worked with, high impact, but there's no metrics, it's not a good thing. You have to find a way to put metrics in there. At least it might not be for all your bullet points within the organization, but at least 3, you know, there has to be metrics. And if you, as a professional right now, you don't track metrics, you want to start to do that, because it's very important, especially for the international job market. Yeah. I hope that answered the question. Yeah, okay. Go ahead.
Yes, you did. Thank you so much. So the next question I have is, how do we gauge and how do we weigh, you know, our experiences? How do we tailor fit them for the job that we're applying for? So, for instance, if I were to apply for a job as like a sustainability person, and I've had a lot of like many different experiences, and some of them are not on that sustainability, would you suggest I list out the experiences for just sustainability, or am I welcome to put in other roles that are filled as well? Also, what if the ones I have done in sustainability are like years ago, and my most recent job role does not have to do with sustainability? What would you suggest?
Yeah, I feel like if the ones that you've done your sustainability years ago, like, then put that one, put that one somewhere, maybe at the bottom, maybe put it there, or maybe have a section where you have projects and then you put it there. Like, you just really want them to see what you did in sustainability somewhat. And then if you know, it just isn't in the recent one, or I don't any other, or maybe you haven't exactly worked in sustainability, but you're interested in it, maybe at that moment you can do a course in sustainability or something like that, and put it as a bullet point under your education, sustainability, something, or in your interests, put sustainability there, or wherever the company that you're working on at the moment, at that point in time, go and do something about sustainability, maybe organize a volunteering event or something, do something about for sustainability. And I mean, sometimes people think about putting resumes based off of the experience you've done in the past. But do you know that you can actually create the experience for your resume because of the kind of jobs you want? So look for opportunities to do those, and, you know, reflect them. But there are certain cases where the job might be tomorrow, you need to apply to it tomorrow, and you've just not been able to do anything. In that case, I think there are creative ways to do it. Feel free to like brainstorm with ChatGPT. You know, I worked in content, I'm interested in sustainability. How do I portray this on my resume? So that can be reflected in skills. Or I think if one is interested in something, they probably have done something like it or far away from it or something like that they can put in their skills or something like that. So yeah, that I'll say that would be how to navigate it.
All right,
Okay.
thank you very much. So I have just one more question, just one more, please. Still on the experiences, you've mentioned ChatGPT a couple of times over the course of this call, and I want to understand, I wanted to share with us how important, or do you think, because a lot of times I've heard people say there are tools to check like AI. So how much of ChatGPT should we rely on when we are making our resumes? How much should we use ChatGPT? Would you say like copy and paste? Would you say tweak some things? How has it been for you in your own experience?
I will, yeah. I'll say that do not copy and paste from ChatGPT, um, but maximize it as much as possible. Like, don't also not use it, but don't copy and paste. And also feed it some information, and then let it be more or less like your writing assistant, like helping you refine things, helping you brainstorm, as opposed to maybe you never worked, did certain things, or you never, and then you're just like, oh, I'm applying for a sales role. Please give me job descriptions for sales, and then you just copy and paste it, and you never did it, things like that. Um, an alternative will be, oh, I worked as a project manager, but I'm applying for a sales role. So what kind of skills should I portray, from project management that are transferable to sales? Or here's my job description. I worked in project management. I'm applying for a sales role. What suggestions can I make? What suggestions do you have regarding tailoring this to a sales role? So might give you some things that are not the case. You're just like, I didn't do this. I'm not going to put this inside. But there are some things that might actually be helpful. It might help you brainstorm and be like, oh, okay, I did this. I just didn't add this to my bullet points. Okay, so it looks like Yisa has a question.
Okay. My question is, for example, there are courses that we take online on Coursera, and they give certificates after you finish these courses. Can we put them under experience?
So if you did a course in Coursera, should it be under experience?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I would say like maybe not experience because it's the course. So maybe under education, it can be under education. Once you put your actual degree, um, in you might want to skip like your bachelor's degree and then the course on Coursera. Can put that there. Can even like then put colon emphasis in, then you put what one of the skills that you know that they are looking out for in that role. Like for me, I did philosophy in my undergrad, and in my resume, I have bachelor's in philosophy, then emphasis in logic and critical thinking. So as an employer, if you see logic and critical thinking or emphasis, you probably like, oh, we want somebody that thinks critically. Maybe, I don't know if that would move the needle, but you can say emphasis in, or you can put the course within your educational section. I won't say experience, yeah. And it can also be
Okay.
at the footer, yeah. It can also be at the footer where it's like certifications, or then you can put it there.
Okay. Thank you.
Except you did a project in the course, then you can put it under projects. Let's say there was a project. Actually, there are some courses that you need to do a project or something. You need to do something, maybe a small project or something like that. Then you can put it as a project section down there.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Is it okay to transfer experiences? For example, okay, we have a couple of questions in here. Is it necessary for you to put everything you apply or volunteer for? Doesn't it make your resume look too much? So you don't need to put everything. You shouldn't put, because there's no space for you to do that if you're especially with a one-page resume. But put the most impactful or the most relatable to the role that you're applying for. So by apply, I'm not sure I know what you mean by apply for, but I think I get the volunteer for. So volunteering that you did that maybe relates to the role, or any volunteering at all. If you are somebody who volunteers, it says a lot about you, because it shows that you are also invested in community. So not everything, maybe most impactful or most prestigious or most relatable to the role. And then if there's none like that, maybe most recent or the one that you felt most passionate about, but not everything that you've done. So the second question is it okay to transfer experiences? For example, I work as a content writer and as a social media manager. As part of my social media role, I wrote content for LinkedIn. Can I also add this experience under my content writing resume? Content writer, social media manager. So I think I want to clarify, Princess. Thanks for asking the question. Is it under the same role that you did both content writing and social media management, or different roles? If you can help me clarify, maybe in the chat, or you can unmute your mic. Then I have Deborah that says, does it mean a one-page resume is the best to use? Well, I have over 5 years of work experience, and I have a one-page resume that I don't just see the need to extend it. I know that within Nigeria it probably might not be a problem. They might be open to go to 1.5, or well, I think if you have like 10 years, 15 years of work experience, then make it 2. But if not, just make it 1. That's my rule of thumb. But there's no hard fast rule. Yeah. But I've had the like opportunity to work alongside like a lot of amazing professionals, great work and like work years of work experience, and most people have one pager resumes. Especially in this part of the world. But I know that in Nigeria, it's advisably, if it's not like 10, 15 years of work experience, just make it one page. Yeah. Princess, do you want to clarify if the content writing and social media manager role was in the same company? Yes, but I doubt that that's the question. Can I also add this experience under my content writing resume? Yeah, I think the full bucket is LinkedIn is also part of social media content and all of those. Yes, I think you can add it. I think you can add it, but I need to be sure, like if it's 2 different roles, 2 different companies, and maybe you want to add what you did in one company under what you did in another company. I wouldn't advise. So I think just put what you did, the achievements that you had there. Okay, Princess, go ahead.
All right, good evening. So my question is, I have a different resume for content writing, and I have a separate one for social media management. So I'm asking if I wrote LinkedIn content as part of my social media management role. Can I also add it in my content writing resume? There are different resumes for content writing and social media management.
Yes, you can add it.
All right, thank you
Yeah.
very much.
You're welcome. So the second one is, can we have a resume for different jobs we do? I'm studying accounting and I have a degree in it, and I'm also pursuing a career in tech. Should I make a resume for both fields? Yeah, I think if you want, yeah, for sure, I think you can do that. If you have like the time, yes, tailor your resume to the role. And I know that you're particularly talking about studying accounting, but you want to pursue tech. You can also just have one resume, because you having like a background in accounting might even be a differentiator for the tech field. But of course, you want to put forward some of the things that you've learned from tech and all of those things. So feel free to tailor your resumes, but if your background is just maybe not the same with what they are recruiting for, feel free to highlight it in maybe the job description. Maybe within accounting, you surveyed tech stack to improve the process, or you identify the tech stack that increased efficiency by 20%. Feel free to put it in there, or put the course, in your education section. Yes, so that would be my advice on that. Eze says, what if you have done different jobs that's not related to the career you're pursuing, and you want to apply for a job that's related to your career? So you've done a different job that is not related to the career that you're pursuing, and you want to apply for a job that's related to your career. I'll say that puts the jobs that relate the most to what you are applying for. But if you have like a central resume, just go in chronological order the ones that are most impactful, or most impactful, and then there are ways to highlight what they are looking for in your skills section, in your achievements in school, in something that you did within that sector, or even in the hyphen, the industry that you worked in, things like that. There are different ways that you can show that in your resume. So you also asked that in that case, how would you position your resume in the aspect of experience? I don't know if I already touched on that, but feel free to unmute and give me like more context. So finally, gifts before I come back to the live audience. I've been seeing CVs and resume. Is there a difference between them? If yes, can you please shed more light? Honestly, that has never, I've also heard it a lot, but that has never really been like a problem for me. I'm just creating resume or CV. People sometimes say CVs are longer, resumes. I mean, there might be a dictionary meaning for the difference between both of them, but I don't think I don't think when recruiters are looking at your resume, like, is this one a CV or is this one a resume? They just want to see, does this person fit the need? Is this person an achiever? Is this person going to be an outstanding candidate for the role? Yes. Deborah and Gina also have questions. I know that was supposed to go from 11 to what time? Let me confirm that. 11 to 12:45. Okay, so we're still on track with time. Yeah, go ahead, Deborah. I can't hear Deborah. Okay, I don't think she's on the call. I think she dropped off. Go ahead, Gina.
Hi, sorry, I thought I was unmuted, but was still muted. Good evening.
Good evening.
So I had a question regarding creating a winning entry-level CV, because I think it's very difficult to create a CV if you've had very little school experience and work experience. So let's say someone who is out of high school, or they want to get a job, probably an internship or otherwise, what would you think would be the key things for them to put on a CV that will be winning job roles for them?
Yeah. So I'll say that if it's like straight out of high school, I'll say the courses that even you took, that the person took in high school, the projects that they worked on. Sometimes some people, like, maybe you shadowed somebody or you assisted somebody in doing something. You can put that as an experience. You just it's just, I think sometimes some people might be of the perspective that, oh, I don't have an experience. What do I do? Everybody has an experience. There's always something. There's something that you did. There's something that you learned, and there's a way to show that. So I'll say that whatever you think that you did that was impactful, sometimes it could be that you maybe supported your mom's business. Nobody's going to, if I'm looking at the resume, I'm not going to know that it was your mom's company. What I can see is that you maybe were head of operations, or maybe, of course, maybe you actually led operations in your mom's company on the side. What I can see was that you led operations for maybe a restaurant chain or something like that, or a restaurant company or something like that. Also, if you're straight out of high school, of course, your job is what do they call it? Your job title might not really be manager or director. So also except you actually were a director, maybe you just straight out of high school owned a business, or you just were really good and they hired you in a startup. Feel free to put that in there. But there are different creative ways to do it. There's definitely something to put in there. Search things that you've done, businesses that you supported, courses that you've taken, even in high school, projects that you worked on, and amplify those in the resume. I don't know if that answers the question.
Yes, it did. Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome. Okay, so we're going to take Praise and Gina, and then we'll move on to the next next item.
Okay, somebody already asked the question I wanted to ask.
Okay, that's good. Okay. Gina, do you have a question that you want to ask?
I said somebody already asked the question I wanted to ask.
Okay, so was it Gina that spoke? I was thinking it was Praise. Okay. So Praise, did you have a question or did somebody already ask it too? Okay. Looks like Praise hand is not up anymore. So I'm going to just go ahead. So I've touched a little bit on experience. I've been trying to, screenshot the resume from the web and then share it in here. But what I'm going to do is I'm not able to find it like when I screenshot it. So I'm just going to go to the web and share what I think a good resume looks like. But like I said, these things are relative. There's no one way to do it, but they're just some things that are kind of, I would like to say, best practices. So the final part that I'll be talking about will be your skill section. So if I was hiring someone for operations and I see in their skill section that they work with Notion, Figma, work with Notion, Jira, or something like that, I can say, oh, okay, they have kind of like used some tools that like I can kind of picture them in the role. So as much as possible, let your skills be tailored to the role. But if you haven't done it, like if you haven't done it, don't put it in there. Put what is most befitting. Let's say you're applying for an operations role, but you did some social media management. You can say content process management, like content process or content operations or operations, social media operations, something like that. There are ways to make sure that, like, in some way, your skill reflects the job that you're applying for. However, it's not every time that that will be the case. So sometimes you might not be the best fit skill wise, but maybe something you did in your education stands out, or maybe the fact that you were just an achiever in your roles, and I can see it from your action word, I can see from your metrics that you transform things. Maybe you have one action word where you said transform the process of something. That might be what will catch my eye. It might not just be that your skill was a total fit, but I feel like most jobs there are a couple of transferable skills that might be relevant across, like project management might be relevant across board. So put the skills that you have and try to make sure at least one or two fit with the job description. And then the interest part of your, so now we're moving from the experience itself to the interest, your skills. Feel free to put the things that you do for fun, like maybe singing or like karaoke or something like that. Feel free to put some life to it, like who you are as a person. I mean, in this part of the world, you can put things like skydiving, or for us in Nigeria, to be more or less things like um hmm, what are some of the things we do for fun? I think singing, dancing, drawing, all of those things. Feel free to put those things in your interest. There are also opportunities for you to put things like industry trend, maybe creative strategies. Feel free to drop something there that is not the typical interest thing. Maybe something that just is in alignment with what the job is looking for. Maybe the job is looking for creative problem solving. Your interest, you can write creative, critical business problem solving, creative but problem solving. Feel free to put it in there. I don't think anybody's going to say, your skills should be one word, your interest is supposed to be one word or two words. Feel free to put anything that you feel like is relevant that you have in there. And I know that there's also like certifications, awards. If you have certifications and awards and you don't put it, I think you're very wrong. If you have certifications, awards, anything that makes you look outstanding, you can put it there. So I'm going to quickly go to a resume on the internet and just walk you through some of the things that I've been talking about. So this resume, I feel like it's a lot of information anyway, but right here in education, can you see my screen?
Yes, could you zoom in a bit, please?
Okay, let me see if that is possible. Okay. I don't know how much. Okay, can you see it?
Yes, better now. Thank you.
Okay, let me just take this. Okay, so right here in this resume, you can see the persons at the top, their name, their. You don't have to put your full address, please. You don't even want your sensitive information like that on the all over the web, like your full address, number, the location, the streets, the. Just put Lagos, Ikeja, something. Oh, I think I'm okay. Looks like this is the actual. Okay, can you see my screen, or should I go to the other view?
I feel like it's cut off at the top, but I can see it.
Well, it's not at the top. Okay, don't know if we'll be able to. Yeah, okay. So here you can see Los Angeles, California. Please don't put number 5, this thing's estate, Ikeja, Lagos. No, just put Ikeja, Lagos, or Ikorodu, Lagos. Yeah, and as much as possible, let your location be kind of, I don't know, it depends on where you are trying to. If you're trying to, if where the location is maybe Lekki, and then let's say you live in Ibadan. Eventually, if you're going to be working in Lekki in a physical office, you're actually going to come to Lagos and live there. So I don't know if your location is Ibadan and you plan to relocate. Well, you can put Ibadan, but let's say there's an auntie that lives around Lekki. You can put her own location, depending on how much information you want the employers to know. Some people are willing to tell their employers that I'm actually going to be moving from Ibadan to come and work in this company. Some people, they don't think that there's a need for that information, so they know that they'll stay with their aunt. So they put the Ikeja, Lagos, her address. So feel free to make your decision based off of your like situation. Please put your LinkedIn, and make sure that the link, like customize the link. Don't put like a 2-line link on your LinkedIn. You want it to be as sorted and decently, sorted as possible. Then your email. So the education, I don't know if you can see it down here. So this person went to Babson College, then Bachelor of Science. I don't know if there's a need to put candidates for, but like, I mean, that probably works for him. But Bachelor of Science in Business Management. Then GPA, if you have an outstanding GPA, like 4.0 or 3.9 or 3, for them, they use like in the US, they use a 4.0 benchmark, but I know in Nigeria, it's like 5.0. Let's say you had a 4.5 or just an outstanding GPA, put it there. You're advertising yourself. You're not just telling them that you do, you won't tell them you achieve. Then, awards. This person has Harvard International Consulting, 2nd out of 43 teams. So, like I told you, for me, I wrote AI for Education Hackathon, 2nd out of 50 participants. So these are the places to shine forth your achievements. Excuse me. So these are places to like shine for your achievements in school. Here you have one. I don't know why this thing it's not leaving my. Okay, going to try to expand this. Okay. Okay, so Harvard International Consulting Competition, 2nd place out of Mass Mutual Scholars Program, first out of 30 recipients, Dean's List. So if as a recruiter, if I come to this person's resume, you know how people say recruiters have 6 seconds to scan through your resume. Excuse me, 6 seconds to scan through your resume. They probably will go to the top, maybe skim through experience, get to the bottom. So you want whatever they are seeing first, to an extent, to just scream, who is this person? If you have done it. And if you haven't, if you're still in school now or you're a graduate, start to look out for impactful things to do, especially in your field of interest. Volunteer with this thing, make an impact. Don't just do them because you're trying to put the name in your, or you're trying to just put the, go in there and make an impact. Let it be that with everything that you do it well. Make an impact, but be very feasible with the timeline that you'll be able to commit to it and things like that. Look out for competitions, all of those things. So next, the person has like work experience. If you've been promoted, that's an opportunity to, so an example, if in this advancement services, this person was promoted from maybe chief operating officer to data analyst, let's take out the intern, this sidekick will not be there. So you take out sidekick. So it will show progression, like you went from chief operating officer to maybe data analyst director or something like that. So if you have been promoted, you can show it in your resume by doing that. Also, you can see this is pretty metric driven. Originated and source. How often have you seen action words such as originated? Well, you have to get very creative and put impactful action words. So appointed, provided, selected out of 60 interns to help university relations plan intern events, which led to a participation rate of 60%. Contributed to something that decreased labor cost by over 2 million. Sometimes it could be that you even worked with a company that had an annual recurring revenue of maybe $2 million. Maybe you even just worked as a social media person, but you can say advanced social media strategies in pharmaceutical organization with annual recurring revenue of $1 million. That's very true. That's the number of the size of the business. So I can see how, that's why I found that you're a social media manager, how big the business was, and the magnitude of the impact. See here, this person has project experience, which is good, especially if you're like a student or you just finished school and then you had some great projects. So feel free to put in those projects. And then if you see the person puts Clarkston Consulting. Now, management consulting is a decently big space within the US and all the McKinseys. He could have just put Clark Consulting, but he put management consulting field experience in brackets beside it. So there are different ways to show that you fit what they are looking for. So this person put Gray Associates. It's possible that I don't know anything about Gray Associates, but right in front, person wrote strategy consulting firm. So you can kind of tell that yes. So you can kind of tell that this person is shooting for, maybe this is trying to submit this resume for a consulting role. So down here you have, so see how creatively this person put other affiliation, PwC, Elevate program, Procter & Gamble, something program, 4% acceptance. See the creative ways to show that you're an exceptional candidate. If I'm looking at this resume, I'm not thinking this person worked here. I'm thinking this person impacted, this person achieved, this person is a phenomenal candidate. This person is really good. That's what I'm thinking. And I haven't really read through all their job description, but I can, from the first job description, from their education, I can see what they're doing. I can see all of these 4% acceptance rates in metrics, their skills and interests, computer, all of these pieces, languages. And if the person wanted, they could have added interests and all of that. Here, they also have leadership and other affiliations. So you just pick what you want to be there. So in this case, this person traded interests for, the space for interest and some other things to put like leadership, project experience. For somebody else, they might decide they want just project experience, work experience, and maybe want to put interest experience there. So people will know project experience, all experience, but they really want to talk about their certifications and everything at the bottom. So this I would say is a great resume. If you are applying for like a design, UI UX design, please, you can put like another like line here and put portfolio, hyperlink your portfolio, or let's say you have a GitHub, hyperlink your GitHub page. So that I would say will bring me to the end of this session. So I'll open it up to more questions. I think there was something else I wanted to say. As much as possible, apply early. And besides just applying, I know people will tell you to network, connect with the recruiter, be professional. Sometimes people aren't professional. Be professional in your outreach, because with every touch point that you're having with the business, they are kind of evaluating you somewhat, especially if you want a job in their company. So be that person that you want them to hire, or the person that you want them to see. So people want people that are like professional, they know their onions, they know what they're doing. Yeah, and if at this moment you feel like, this person's resume I'm looking at is like state of the art, I've not done all these things, there's time to start to look out to do all these things. And you can also think back, there are some things that are amazing things that you might have done that you can put forward, but there's also time to start to look out for opportunities to be an exceptional candidate. So yeah. So questions. I see Yisa has a question. I hope you guys found this insightful and helpful. So go ahead,
Sorry,
Yisa.
when you were talking about the GitHub page, I did not really hear you. So are we going to add the link to the page on our skills, or we're going to add it at the end of our resume?
Yeah, so there are different, I think sometimes people put it in their, maybe at the bottom where they put skills and, GitHub project or something like that. But you can also just, right here, I don't know if you can see my cursor. Is it moving? Like the cursor. Okay, but let me just talk here real quick. At the top, after email, you see the LinkedIn link email, you can see that there's a line that separates it. So you can add another line and put GitHub portfolio and hyperlink it to there. You can do that. Sometimes people put it in around project side, but you can put it at the top, you can put it wherever it is, but just if you have that to share and you think that to make you stand out and there's something great there to see, like please put it there. It can be at the top, at the bottom, but all in all, like let your resume look put together and well thought out.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so we have Nohuha. Go ahead.
Good evening. When you were talking just now, you made mention of stylishly arranging, like creatively arranging your skills, like what you did in the company itself. So I have a question, because I have actually I've tried to apply for jobs before, and you get a situation where you're asked questions like, would you be fine? Would it be okay to go forward to your past employer and ask questions about these things that are written inside your CV? So what happens when, of course, you've used creative words that sounds big, you get? So how do you back those kind of thing up in a situation like that?
Yeah. Yeah, I think you should never use like a word that is you can't argue creative. You can just say that the person just blew it out of the park of what they did. Like say what you did, but there are ways. Okay, so now, for example, let's say I worked as a social media manager. Prior to when I worked there, they had views of maybe 21 people. And on an average, 2100, 30, 30, 30, 15, 15, 15, like that. Then I came in, started working as a social media manager. Benchmark, they were having like 50 views, then 200, then 100, then 30, then on an average, let's say there was a push-up of about 30, like 30 extra views, or on an average. And the highest now is like, the standard deviation is higher, and it's way higher than what they used to have. Not by significant, like a significant metric, but a decently higher metric. My bullet points can be, let's think through that real quick. Optimized social media engagements, leading to then you put whatever the percentage in. Okay, let's say the average was initially like 20. Now the average is about maybe 50 or 30. So a 20 to 30, will I say that is that like 100 or whatever percentage increase that is, percentage increase in views for the business. That that percentage shows, like if I just said I move from 20%, 20 views on an average to 30 views on an average, like I probably would look at Google and say 20 and 30 views. Okay, all right. I mean, our business, what we want is like 1,000 views. But if I put it in percentages, it's actually still significant work. It's just that maybe the business, maybe their audience, there are different things that could have happened. Social media is not a sprint, it's a marathon. So, but in the time being, this was the percentage increase. So if somebody tells you to back it up, it's backable because you use percentages to identify like that increase. You didn't, that's not a lie. You just use percentage because percentages was like a better way to show the impact, the magnitude of the impact, than using the actual numbers. So an example will also be that you worked in a company, let's say you work in a company and the company's annual recurring revenue is like, let's say like $1 million. But in the company, what you were doing there was you were a receptionist, right? And you were helping to coordinate inflow of like visitors and everything. Your bullet points can be managed process of customer inflow for efficiency in like maybe attendance to customers for satisfaction or something like that in a $1 million company, in a $1 million annual recurring revenue organization. You didn't lie. You actually did. You helped them to. So that $1 million, you also didn't say that you brought in $1 million for the business. What you're saying is that this is how big this company is. And that's not a lie. Like, that's how big the company is. That was what you did. So inadvertently, what I'm saying is that don't lie. Don't use creativity to blow. Let's say you like only brought an average of 10 extra views for the business, and then you're not like, oh, you brought 500,000 extra views. Like, that's just a blatant lie. But using percentage to say, oh, you moved from 20% of average to like 30%, 30 to 30 views average within the time span, you know. So I don't know if that explains it, but I'm not saying lie. I'm not saying be creative. For me, like I think I kept highlighting it from the beginning to the end. I'm not an advocate for lying on your resume or blowing things out of the park. I just think that there's a way to tell your story in such a way that it highlights what you have achieved. So if you don't feel like that was an achievement, then maybe don't put it. Put what you felt like was an incredible achievement that you had for the company.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Go ahead.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions that I've collated in the past. I sent it to you via email. I don't know if you got it, but I'm happy to like ask them here now on the call.
Okay. Go ahead.
So the first one here is really about volunteering and CV. And the thing is, I'm going to be factual with you as somebody who has like spoken to a lot of people. A lot of people don't see the need, and I think it's a very wide gap, to be honest. A lot of people don't see the need to do anything in regards to like professional upskilling till they finish school. When you talk to a lot of young people, they're like, I'm still in school. You know, they feel like they don't have to do anything until they finish school, only for them to come out and realize, oh, they're stuck because now you need a 5-year experience and then there's nothing you've done in the past. So how significant can volunteer experience be in the experience section, especially someone who has not worked a lot, right? Somebody who's like 20, 21 is in like 300 level and they're looking for jobs to like sustain themselves. How would you suggest, like, if you see a resume, if you were going to employ somebody and you picked up their resume and maybe all their 4 experiences are like, they have great metrics, they have every other thing, but all 4 of them are like either volunteer or internship roles, do you think this is a red flag?
I would say it's a red flag. Like, just I don't think the person needs to put in there that it was a volunteering. Like, if that's the experience that you had, you don't need to put in there that you volunteered, except you have like other experiences, and then at the bottom you just want to highlight that you also like volunteering. So that way, the person that quotes person is not just like a professional; they then also volunteered. But if it's just volunteering experience that you've had, maybe you're fresh out of college, and that's actually it's still experience. They paid you for it or did not pay you for it. It's still experience. So internship experience, I think you can highlight internship. You can say internship, especially when you're fresh out of college or things like that, or maybe the internship was one of the things you did in your career span. Yes, for sure. Feel free to highlight it. But I wouldn't say it is a red flag. But if you're like you're like 10 years post school and the only thing you've done like you actually put in there volunteer and it's only volunteer. I'm going to like, okay, so that's good, that's great, but maybe not putting it there as volunteer will be beneficial, because regardless, some people in volunteer roles have even made more impact than they did even in the actual job. So yeah, I think that's the rule of thumb to apply.
All right, thank you so much. So another question that we have is, customizing my CV for different job applications is time consuming and can be very challenging. Is there a hack to do this quicker and more efficiently?
I'll say that, because one way to do it quick is just to customize the skill section. Yeah, to customize your skill section. And like I always say, don't put skills that you don't know how to do. Like put what you know how to do, then look at the one that's transferable within the job description and put it in there. I think another quick way to do it will be maybe what you highlight in your education or those in front. So these gray associates, it's possible that they do strategy consulting, they also do healthcare consulting, they also do something consulting. Because at this moment he's applying for a strategy consulting role, you probably put strategy consulting in front. Maybe if he's applying for a healthcare position, you can put the part of like their healthcare consulting, like what they do in healthcare consulting. So those hyphens in front of maybe what your role was about, or not changing your role, but the expression of what you did in relation to like the job. And sometimes if you really want the job bad, sometimes actually go through your bullet points or think through like look at the job description or put it in ChatGPT. This is the job description. These are my job description. What ways can I be more of a fit for the role? Brainstorm with it. Don't copy and paste. And because ChatGPT can sometimes put things that you be like, I don't do that. So please, like brainstorm with it. So I'll say those are like the quickest ways. In my.
Thank you very much. So another question I have here is about two of my experiences in social media management were for anonymous clients. So these are for like the ghostwriters and things like that. These are very valuable experiences too. Can I integrate these experiences into my resume without mentioning their names and companies? And how credible will it be seen as? Or should I completely leave it out?
If it's a valuable experience, I think you should put it there. Maybe just put healthcare company, then write ghostwriter, something like that, so that like you're just putting the industry, and then maybe hyphen, you're like ghostwriter, then you put the impact. So you can't see the name of the company, and I'm sure the recruiter will respect that. But all through your resume cannot now be ghostwriter. Like, let it be one of those experiences, and maybe you can just say freelance writer and put the name of you as a, like your own company, like, or your maybe name it as name yourself as a company, and maybe your name is like Praise, and maybe you started to freelance or something, and then you have like writing services, so it can be like writing services company name, freelance founder and freelance writer, then you just put the experience.
All right, thank you so much. So another question here is, the difficulties I encountered in the past regarding making my CV would be finding my niche. It just feels like I'm all over the place. I don't have a niche, and it's confusing to make a resume and list job experiences that are not related from different sectors. So somebody who has maybe taught and worked as like a nursing assistant and worked in a law firm and it's kind of like all over the place. What would you suggest in finding their niche?
I think that shouldn't hold you back. Sometimes it's funny how there's some things that you might count as a weakness that people might find intriguing. Maybe so you had a nursing experience, and then maybe for some of your projects, maybe a project you're able to highlight a project that you did that maybe ties to the role, but you had nursing experience. Person, that was person has nursing experience, but they did this, or but they studied this, or they have achieved this in the nursing experience. I think I'd like to still speak with them, but maybe through and through, don't make all of like from your skills to your experience to your projects to everything to just be nursing. Because person like, well, maybe we don't have a job for this person. Person just all nursing. So those are things where if you really want maybe to pivot to an industry, start to take the courses. That's why people go ahead, pay for courses, prestigious courses in those spaces, because they want to be able to adequately tell their stories without lying in such a way that it positions them as a good candidate for it.
Okay. Thank you so much, Praise. So we have just 3 more questions because we're at our time, but I think they are very important questions. So somebody is asking, what is the difference between a cover letter and a CV? What roles do they play in job acquisition? And then how do I highlight my cover letter to make a strong impact when I'm applying for a role?
So do you mean cover letter? The difference between a cover letter and a CV? Is that it?
Yes.
Okay. I think besides like the clear differences, like CV is for, highlighting in a succinct way your career trajectory, like from where to where to where. Cover letter is more or less like telling them that's one of the opportunities for you to even say, oh, I did nothing, but I'm interested in content, and then something like that. Like actually tell your story, talk about the mission, like how it ties to the mission and all of those. I happen to just be coughing at this moment. But in terms of how to make your cover letter stand out, I think one of the things that I try to do, I don't know if like I always say, there's no one way to do things. Your cover letter, it can be 5 paragraphs, but it can also be 3 paragraphs and some bullet points. Bullet points like maybe subtopics. So let's say you're applying for a content role, and then you were a nurse, and then you talk about, oh, over your 5 years of work experience, this, you admire the company's mission and everything. Then these are the ways that you have equipped yourself for this content role, even with your previous career as a nurse. First, empathy with the target audience. Empathy with the target audience as a nurse, something that you start to explain, maybe in 3 lines. Having to be a nurse and provide for the needs of people, that has helped you build great empathy for the audience. And you know that this will be a great skill within marketing, because it's important to be empathetic for the target audience. In fact, you're able to improve the hospital ratings by 25% because of your ability to fend for the customers in the way that they need to, the patients in the way that they need to. Second bullet point, understanding the operations of whatever. Third bullet point. So that way, if a recruiter goes through your cover letter, they can read through 5 paragraphs, or they can just skim through and already see your bullet point or and then now start to read if they want to, additionally. So that's one other way to do it.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. So lastly, I want to ask, so there's a question about how to make a resume stand out. So in conjunction with that, I want to ask, are you able to share templates, resources, tools, anything you can to help us craft amazing resumes, like maybe a resume templates that you can always stand by, you can always recommend, tips, tools, resources, anything to help us craft amazing resumes. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I'll start off by this decent resume that I just saw on the internet. I'll go to put the link here. I think it's not a bad resume. I think the only thing I'll do different for this resume is like that date type. I would probably not put it in numbers. I'll put it like January something, or like write it out. But this is one that I'll say that you can use this as a rule of thumb for the resumes that you write. Also, if let's say you are trying to apply for UI UX design, a UI UX design role, you can go on Google and say the design resume that landed you a job at, even the name of the company, or just great UI UX design resume. And then on YouTube, you see people talk through their styles and all of that. But at the end of the day, it's not every advice that if you watch like 10 videos, everybody has their different formats. At the end of the day, you just have to use one that you feel will work best. So feel free to use this, or maybe there's one that just really stands out to you in the ones that they show, and then putting in some of these things that we've talked about. So yeah, I'll say that first off, this I think is a decent like resume, very achievement focused, and yeah, resources like YouTube and all of those. And like I said, this conversation that we had will definitely also be helpful.
All right, thank you so much. I'm going to hand over to Olariwaju now to go from here. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so you're welcome. I really hope that this helped. Like I said, also, it's one thing to have your resume, it's one thing to apply. If you're not applying, those interviews, you're reducing the chances. So apply. If you can, apply early. Also, network professionally. Don't make it sound like they're entitled to speak with you. Feel free to use ChatGPT to brainstorm. Also, don't lie in your resume. Tell your stories in a way that it relates to the achievements that you've had, and putting your best foot forward, without just blatantly like being like lying. I don't subscribe to that. But I'm really wishing you all the best. Oh, I think we're 32 on this call, all 32 plus me on this call. I know that you guys will do amazing. And
we are 42.
What do you say?
We are 42 on the call.
Oh, 42. Yeah, okay. I'm sure you guys will do amazing. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I might not be able to have people send resumes to me to look through them because of like capacity and everything. But I know that this resource that I sent to you will definitely be, I think this is a decent resume. And you can just connect for us to stay in touch on LinkedIn. That's it. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Praise, for this wonderful session. I believe everyone must have taken one or two from it, and thank you very much. And please, where can we find you on LinkedIn? What's your...
Okay, let me put my LinkedIn link. Start sharing and put it in the chat. This is it. So feel free to connect with me here, or just my name, Praise Ifetogun.
Thank you very much for that. I believe everyone has learned from this session. Please, can everyone turn on their camera so we can save this memory, if that's possible?
I think I am pinned on my own view, like I'm pinned to, okay. All right, okay, people, yeah, I think I see some cameras. Oh yeah, so I was talking with people. Initially, I thought I was talking with gray DPs. Nice to see your faces. Okay, so who's anchoring the memory?
Okay, so I'll be taking the pictures in 1, 2, 3. Smile. All right. Thank you so much, Grace. Thank you, everyone, for being here to the end. We really, really appreciate this. You've shared so much knowledge for free. You've taken out the time. You are here. You've given us the time, even though you did not have to. We do not take it for granted at all. And as like a promise, we are going to make a promise just to assure you that you did not waste your time here. We are going to be taking back everything we've learned. We are going to be implementing. We are going to be crafting those resumes and landing those jobs in our respective fields. Thank you so much, Praise. I really do appreciate it.
You're welcome. Sorry to interrupt. Thank you so much. I think I'm on the bigger screen, so I don't know if the screenshot really had people's faces on it. Can you unpin me? I want to see everybody's face in the picture. Yes, okay.
Oh, okay.
Let's take it again. I don't want to be the center of.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to. Okay, please, if you can, please turn on your cameras again. If you don't have lights, you can use touch. Don't worry, we're in Nigeria, we understand. Only Praise is in the US here, so we get it. Don't feel bad. Amen. We are claiming it. Okay, so I don't have lights too. So everybody, we're together in this. We're in this together. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your Friday and your weekend. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Good night.